Welcome to Intelligent Human Leadership, leading yourself and your team. Do you ever find yourself grappling with a lack of confidence in your team? Or battling the relentless waves of concern and fear? Are the pressures to meet client expectations and the burden of missed opportunities weighing you down? On this podcast, you'll discover the strategies and insights that will reignite your team's morale and help you find the harmony and knowledge you seek to propel your business forward. Here, we explore innovative ways to reignite your creative spirit and achieve greatness, empowering you to lead with intelligence, compassion, and resilience. If you're ready to dive deep into your core of leadership challenges and be guided toward success, here's your host, founder of Steward Your Business, David Carr.
Welcome back. So glad to have you here on our latest episode. And those of you who've been following along, I'm so grateful to be able to share value and insights here. And just want to jump in here today about where are you at with your association with success? Where are you at in this? Who do you associate? What do you associate with success? I'm just going to jump right in there because this is really important in today's society with so many things coming at you. I find people are not clinging to or holding on to the things that really bring them success, and the things that they're actually holding on to are sinking them. This is really, really important question and observation that I want to bring to you today. Who and what do you associate with success? Are you tied or is your ladder on the right wall, as we might say, going towards success? And I want you to think about people, organizations, environments. Where do you find yourself associated with? Who do you want to be working with? Who do you want to go through life with and find success with in life? Or, maybe you're not finding that success, right? What's the environment you're finding yourself in, the organization or that you're a part of? And for those of you, particularly in the architecture, engineering, consulting world that I've been into for over 20 years as an industry, faces many challenges when we're not tied to the right or not associated with the correct or helpful entity or groups. In fact, it can actually be dangerous. It can actually put us in some very big risks that we'll dig into a little bit in this episode. So I want you to kind of think about how this affects you as the business owner, as a leader, and who you're associated with. Where are you focusing your time and energy? And we're going to go through those. We're going to pick through some of that on this episode because I want to get you in a powerful place of where we can get you associated in a proper way, in a way that's actually moving you forward, getting you in progress. But before we can get there, and we'll get to that later in the episode here, I want to present to you this idea and thought about your associations. And I want you to take account for this. I want you to think about those people in your life, those organizations you're a part of or not, this environment that you're creating for yourself is, what is that? What are you associating success with? Sometimes we don't have a good picture of what that is. And so what happens is some of those ideas, when we don't have a clear picture of that, we may associate ourselves with people, for example, that don't have a good track record. Their reputation isn't the best. But we think because they've had some success, perhaps, and they have it, or at least it seems that way, that we want to associate with them. But we don't know truly the cost of that. There's a lot of risk when we don't associate appropriately. And I'll just go through a few of them here with you. So reputation for sure. And for those of you in the AEC, architecture, engineering, consulting, environmental consulting, all of that, it's a small field. And I would say most industries, when you get down to it, if you're a high level player, if you're playing at a higher level, and the higher level you play, the more exposure you're going to have, in my opinion, and you'll be more visible, hopefully, because you're moving up, you're having great conversations, connections. However, if you associate poorly with that, it can reverberate in worst case scenarios your whole career and it can prevent you from making progress further in that industry, in that market sector, because you have associated with a person that of unfortunately maybe ill repute or didn't know. Sometimes these people are very sneaky. Unfortunately, we see things in the news all the time. There's unethical business owners. So your reputation can be damaged, which could literally lead to not working in the industry anymore, or certainly hampering it. Let me get that out. There's obviously, as if anybody works in consulting, you have legal and compliance risks. You're always kind of mitigating. You're looking at that, and so you got to be careful. Again, do I associate with a particular client? Right? I want to serve that client, but if they're not ethically addressing laws and regulations, you're putting yourself at risk. Again, at some point, you maybe will navigate part of it, but if you're a tag to them in permits and authorizations, and they're saying, well, this consultant told me, or they guided me in this way, and they told me this way, you're in line with them. And so, again, being very careful about who you're choosing to serve. Again, if you're in any kind of business development, you're building relationships, if you're outreaching to potential clients or teaming partners, right? People that you want to collaborate with, and they're unethical, this could put you at legal risk. We see a lot of this in cybersecurity, right? I was just talking to a colleague about this recently, and you're not paying precautions, and this person doesn't look about that. They don't take care of the risk. And what happens? Something happens, and then you're tied to that. You've associated with this person or the entity, and they have vulnerabilities. Now, we all have vulnerabilities, we all have risks, but we want to minimize those, right? So I'm just wanting you to think about, go in your mind, who am I associated with? Obviously, finances and businesses are always a big one. There's always risks in there. And again, if we're associating ourselves in an unhealthy financial arrangement, that could be detrimental. The entities that we're going after or putting ourselves in, there's pluses and minuses. Like any industry, there's different sectors within that. So, you could look at the private development market, for example. That could be very lucrative, and it could be very well. You could associate that with that, but then market changes too. And it's like, well, maybe I don't want to associate entirely with that particular group. I want to diversify and be a part of other groups or associations. And so you got to be careful, because that can also affect your ability to grow as a company. If you're tied, and I have seen this. So in my time in the industry, I've been around where companies were completely associated with one client base. Let's just say private development, because this is one that is a reality that we see up and down, right? So for those that can remember, back in 2009-ish, our stock market went way down. Companies that were solely based on private development, that's what they were associated with. It was private development. These are the type of clients and types of projects that we're going to work on. Well, that went away. I mean, most of it, and some of it was still there. But if that was all that you were in, you have to recognize that your success can ride and crash based on who and what you're associated with. So there is value in diversification, understanding that, because there are impacts to the market. There are changes there. We always would look at this in client relationships, for example. For those of you that have client base, you want to make sure it's diversified, right? If you have one client that's honestly more than like 10%, look at it like a stock portfolio. If you're associating with all of your, how many, hopefully not too many of you, but how many of you have invested and put all of your associated money with either specific stock or company? Enron, anybody? You hear this? Where they lost everything or lost most of their money they invested because they associated poorly and invested. You can almost say associated and invested. And we talked about this in a previous podcast about investing in yourself. Who you are the best investment, in my opinion. But who are you associating with? If we link those two together for a minute, investing in yourself and associated. I personally have invested money in myself a lot, but also purposely associated myself with people that were further along in their journey in business. And for one, because I've wanted to learn how I could be a better businessman and serve my clients, but also in marriage, also hired people for coaching, both professionally, physically, like going to the gym, right? I have a pastor. Who you associate with is vital to your success, in my opinion. And I want you to really look at this holistically in your life. Where and who and what are you associated with? Because sometimes there's a time and a place, and it serves you, and it's great, and it serves them, and this is a great, hopefully mutually beneficial arrangement, associations. But oftentimes, and I particularly find this at younger ages, and as you get older, hopefully lessen. But we grow up and we have certain folks, and we realize that we've now kind of changed and grown, and some people have not. In fact, some people have maybe even regressed to a certain degree. And there's this kind of pulling back. I've heard, unfortunately, multiple very successful entrepreneurs and business owners in which they were berated almost and put down for their success by others in their community that knew them, that they felt like they couldn't own a nicer car or nicer home because it was like they had to be pulled down to the level of where others were around. And that is just so disheartening to hear that. Instead of celebrating somebody that has had great success, they've worked hard, lift them up and appreciate them. I don't berate anybody that has had that kind of success. Amazing. Awesome. It inspires me to level up. I'm like, who do I have to be to have that person, to be that place, to go in there? And then evaluate, is that worth it? You can look and see from the fruit of their life if that's something that's worth pursuing or not. So, think about this. Some of these things are very real in what we're talking about, associating yourself with your business. I have firsthand experience with this in the environmental consulting world, where firms had done things and their reputation was damaged almost beyond repair. And so if you do that and you associate yourself, and this could be honestly employees. So think of yourself as a manager or supervisor. If you're associating yourself with poor performing employees, they are representing your company to your clients, to regulatory agencies, to the city, to the county. They're representing you. If you're choosing to associate yourself with them, recognize there is great risk there. There is great power in hire slowly, make sure I get that right. Hire slowly, fire quickly, because if we know it's not a good fit and there's damage there, we need to move quickly as we can to minimize the risk there. If we know the association is unhealthy, is not productive, it's not mutually beneficial, let's move on that right away. Your employees, there's a lot of morale and ethical concerns, and we've talked about this a little bit in previous episodes, where if we have demoralized employees, they're kind of not paying attention to details, or they're skipping important milestones or checkpoints, it puts you at great risk. And so, and here's the reality, we live in a world that protects the employees, and that's not a bad thing in and of itself. However, we need to be aware that when we're associating and we're choosing these people in our organizations, we choose very wisely, and we make, we decide how we're going to be associated with them. So I really want to encourage you. And this is hard, especially for small businesses, but any business really, when there's like, oh my goodness, we have all this work we can do, we have this need, and you're like, well, if I hire these people, we could fill this, we could do this. But I'm telling you, if you're not careful about how you associate and who you associate with, it could do more harm than good. It could definitely, and I've seen this firsthand, and I work with clients and I work with teams to avoid that, thankfully, very intentionally, and I can tell you that's helped minimize that turnover and strife within an organization. But this is a real challenge. How we collaborate internally. Management is a big issue. Again, if you're not hiring good people and training them and getting them there, this can cause challenges within the organization. decision making. And so again, who you associate with. This includes bringing on outside people like myself, right? Steward your business. I'm here to come in and help. You could associate with somebody that's honestly in it for the money. They're just going to try and extract from you. And you're like, well, that really wasn't anything beneficial. Are they bringing value? I mean, the reason why I even do this podcast is I bring value. I want to support people. This is no cost to you. This is like, I'm sharing nuggets and wisdom and things that I've learned in the trenches for over 20 years. I was an environmental consultant working in multiple different roles and companies. And so I want to make sure that you hear this loud and clear. Choose wisely who you associate with so that you can lead successful companies, groups, teams. It's so important. If we're not aware of this, we're missing allocating our resources appropriately. We may be missing out because our associations, the saying that we say yes to one thing means we say no to something else. Be very conscientious of your decision. Who do you want to work with? I work with subcontractors and working with prime contractors. And I say, look, evaluate this. Sometimes you have prime contractors that say, hey, you know what? We want to be exclusive with you. We only want you to work with us. Now, as a subcontractor, that may not be in your best interest to associate only one prime contractor, right? Only one, because that limits you from the other opportunities, especially if you're a subcontractor. And so consider that. Consider that you might be misallocating resources and an ability to grow the company based on how you decided to associate or go after certain types of work too. Again, think about where you want to go. Of course, talent, retention and recruitment is huge. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have associations with the wrong people, this will spread. I'm telling you. You have companies like Glassdoor, other ones out there for reviews, and I tell you, when people generally speaking, when people want to go put a review out, it's a negative review, not a positive review. Unfortunately, I'd like to see more positive reviews. The reality is, we have that, and so if somebody's burned, they feel frustrated again. Because you've associated with them, you've hooked your wagon to them, so to speak. That'll affect you long term if you're not careful about that. Again, this is such a big issue. We're not going to be able to get through all of this in this podcast today, but it's important that we balance profitability, obviously, with these ethical standards, and this could be challenging. Who we're associated with. Think about this. Think about the ethical view, because if you can justify and share why you're associated with a particular industry, a particular client, I think that's really important, particularly for those that are dealing with the younger generation that are coming into the workforce today, the 20-somethings, the 30-somethings. Particularly, I see that they're very driven by the values, by the mission and the vision of the company. And if they don't feel like it's in alignment with them and understanding that, and they're like associated, because you may think, well, what's the big deal? We're doing this. No, it's an extension, okay, of the company. And that, so they're saying, well, I don't know if I want to be associated with a company that does X, right? I want you to consider that. Be aware of that. You don't have to just be the business owner here. This is decisions that you're making. If you're a department head, a leader within the organization, a group manager, you have input as to, hey, this is some of the things, or I want to encourage you that you should share your input as to these are the things that we should be pursuing. These are the clients that we want to work with. These are the market sectors that we want to be a part of. These are the things that we value. Be very clear about that. I would encourage you not just to kind of blindly go along. Ask questions. Be clear. Get curious as to why that is. What is, if this might be a counter to the corporate identity or values, right? That's a problem. That philosophical disconnection. I mean, that's a real issue. More than ever in our workforce right now. And it could cause you to have difficulty retaining key employees that way. You have to look at that. What is your who and what are you associating with success? How are you getting there? You might, here's one you might want to consider: associating yourself with outdated technology or ways of doing things, you're like, well, this is the way we've always done it. This is what we've done. That could hinder your ability to adapt, to innovate. Because while we're associated with X, I was literally talking about this with a colleague this past week about associating with particular types of platforms. And the reality is you can hold on to that, but if it's not in the industry standard, so for us in the industry of the AC industry, for example, it's a Microsoft dominated world. Not that it can't be done with others. I'm not saying you don't, but the reality is, look in what does the industry use? What's the industry specific? What's the collaboration there? I find, for example, so it's a more of a PC thing. There's a PC Mac device. I'm really kind of agnostic, but you have to recognize where the differences are, right? Where are those things? Where am I associated with it? Because if the majority is using X and you're like, well, I'm going to associate with this, I want to be different. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with being different. Just evaluate, is that going to get me success? Is that going to help me in the collaboration? And is that going to help me to innovate, be adaptive, to evolving industry? When I got into the industry many years ago, there was hardly any GPS units, right? And some people were resistant. They're like, I don't know, GPS units. What's the deal with this, right? Well, those that adapted and started using it, they were able to associate success and get ahead of the game before others. Technology continues to evolve; it never ends, it never stops, right? So, who and what are you associated with? Do you have people that are innovative? Do you have people that are thinking about those things? This goes even, when I'm thinking about associations, it's like looking at the makeup of your team. How are you associated? Do you have everybody kind of is all balanced? Meaning, do we have a good diversity of individuals? Or are we associated only with people that are like us? Well, I'm telling you, if you're only associated with a core group that's the same, you're missing out. You're missing out on diverse opinions, insights that could really help your business move forward. And so if we're not doing this carefully, this is going to affect our projects, how we're not going to be able to do things well. We're associated, with poor subcontractors that don't get us the things that we need in a timely manner. Maybe they give us a low price. That's kind of cool, but we're not getting what we need in quality. Woo! There we go. Bless me. And God bless you if you guys heard that. So, but regulatory compliance, we need to be aware of our associations. I mentioned this earlier. If, we're hooked up with the wrong people, if you're getting dinged by regulatory ones, and that's as environmental consultants, that's my background, any kind of consultant in this industry, we're here to help get our clients through quickly, right? Time is of the essence. That's one of the most valuable thing. And so if you violate or associate with somebody that calls into question your integrity, trustworthiness, that is huge. That is going to be a roadblock for you. And of course, like I said earlier, you're if we're not associating with clients that are ethical, that show up, that are good stewards, quite honestly, stewards in the way they show up in the community and the way they show up, how they run the business, that is an association. So you need to be careful about how and who you're associated with. I'll extend this a little bit personally too. I mean, we've been focusing on business, but I think it's important to think about this too. Extend this in because this may show up in business as well. There are harmful and I would say self-limiting relationships in this way. By design, we choose to stay in them, okay? Because out of comfort, we know this person and we feel bad, like, oh my goodness, am I making myself better than the other person? No, everybody's on their own journey, but you need to go where you are going to be the greatest success. I'm not saying, diss the person. I'm just recognizing, understand who do you associate? What do you associate with success? If you're the top of the hill and everybody else, as far as your skills, your abilities, like if I'm the best that I know of at whatever you do, then I want to challenge you to, you better start looking for somebody that's further along than you, because that's it. You've hit a limit. I'm telling you, there's always a new level. There's always a new peak to get to. And so look who could be your next guide, who could lead you in that direction. I'm just one of many, right? I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and so it's my honor and to be associated and lift up and give a hand to those that are maybe further behind the trail. And I'm reaching out to others that are further along the trail, being teachable, coachable. I want you to move out of any of these things where you're in toxic relationships, where there's jealousy and manipulation and disrespect, like I was talking about earlier, where they're pushing you down. And so that you're feeling like you're always giving, and I'm about giving. I just talked about this the other day on one of my lives, but we need to be able to do it not where we're completely being pulled down, right? There you go. So look at that. It could be, both, just friends. It could be really romantic relationships too. Think about that. We want to have mutual respect, trust, support, being emotionally and physically present for one another. And if you're not being there, if you're being sabotaged, gaslit, look at that. Look at the dysfunctional family relationships. It's not that you don't love them. It's not that you don't care. It's just you have to make sure that you have good boundaries and set yourself up for success here. Be really, really conscientious of who and what and where you associate with success in your mind, because I really want to see you achieve great success. Whether you're a business owner, leading your team, you're an individual department manager, supervisor, I'm rooting for you here at Steward Your Business. That's why I've created the Steward Your Business coaching program for individuals to come in, have a framework to work from so that they can, number one, learn these tools. And again, I can't solve your problem here on the podcast, but I can tell you that this is a place where you can come and you can have great associations. And it's not just with me, David, it's with other individuals that are on this journey of growing and learning each other. To find a community, that is huge to me. Find a tribe that's like, hey, these people get me, they understand me, and they're on a journey along with me. There is power in that. You go much further together than you do alone. There's a saying, I think it's an African proverb. It says, you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go farther, go together. Well, come together here with Steward Your Business. Join me. I would love to have you a part of that. Reach out, send me a direct message. This is an opportunity for you to make a decision to improve your life, to associate yourself with success. Make that decision. Don't wait another day. Oh, I'll get to it. I'll think about it. Here's now. You're hearing my voice. You're listening to this. Come and join me with Steward Your Business. Send me a message. David at stewardyourbusiness.com. It's that easy. Go to stewardyourbusiness.com. Follow me on all the social media channels you guys know. Leave a comment. And of course, I encourage you to recommend this to friends and colleagues as you're listening to this. We're going to be better together as you share and encourage one another. And so I give this openly as a gift. I want to share with you guys this journey of my own here. You have support, you have care. I want to help you develop into being the best version of self you can be, starting with your business and moving from there. So you're already listening to Steward Your Business. So, hey, you get a win there. You're associated with Steward Your Business. David Carr here. I'm super excited that you guys have invested the time to come and listen and join me on this journey. There's so much more. I can't wait to share with you on all these episodes that we're going to be coming every week here. You were just getting started here in 2024. So I'm just super excited to share that with you guys. Please join me again. Leave a review, share your comments, reach out to me. This is going to be an amazing year. There's so much more to come. And I'm so grateful that you have chosen time to invest and associate yourself here with Steward Your Business. Until next time, have an amazing week. We'll talk to you soon. Bye all.